Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome back to the IAE. Today is day 6 of our little journey into the Intergalactic Expo, and taking to the stage is Drake Interplanetary. So, for those who don't play Star Citizen, Drake Interplanetary is a ship manufacturer of dubious concerns when it comes to the legal side of things, as a number of their ships have been utilized by pirates, gangs, and various ne'er-do-wells that has sort of brought the reputation of the company to a little bit of a low patch. But they're trying to make do, trying to make amends, and sort of succeeding? Maybe? I don't know. Maybe. Well, regardless, they have decided to show their faces once again at the IAE, and unlike in Invictus, where they basically did a middle finger to the UEE, they've actually tried to show their more civil side and the more refined elements to it. Of course, everyone knows that a Drake Interplanetary fighter or ship is generally held up with duct tape, hope, and a little bit of spit to try and keep the lubricant going. But yeah, often you'll hear a joke at the Drake Interplanetary's expense. There are, of course, the fanboys, who I'm sure are furiously typing in the comments section of this video saying how much of an asshole I am for taking the piss out of their ships. But note, I have a number of Drake fighters and equipment in my inventory, and I am appreciative of some of their values. Just not of their insurance claims, because I know I'm going to be burning through those. Thank God for LTIs, eh? But regardless, today we're going to be having a look at a number of the ships available in today's IAE, and we'll actually be able to have a look at some of the new funky features and ships that may yet come in the far future of the 40k universe. So, yeah, they're not a big one today, so hopefully the episode should be fairly short and sweet. And we're going to be actually starting our journey by looking from the right, going over to the Cutties, through to the Caterpillar, then to the Drake Herald, before finishing off with the holodeck. And without further ado, let us get started. So the ship to the right is called the Drake Interplanetary Buccaneer, or the Bucky. This is, well, if you've played Star Citizen for any length of time, and you've done any kind of missions on a law-abiding side, no doubt you'll have encountered the Nine Tails, and their signature ship, the Buccaneer. This single-seat fighter with pretty damn good shields, a fantastic set of engines, and pretty much the concept of how much firepower and engine power can you stick into one area that's condensed and sort of somehow holds together. Buccaneer. So what exactly does this thing, what's the unique aspects of this particular ship? Well, apart from the two giant engines that will give you pretty high levels of top speed, it is also the size 4 Gatling gun at the top, which kind of adds that extra oomph power to it. Apart from that, you've got 2 size 1 Gatling guns, 2 size 2 repeaters, and 4 missiles, though unfortunately there are varying differences. Now, I am unsure if the updated game has actually changed out the missiles, or this is just a different texture for it. But basically, the first missile is just your average Joe tracking missile, locks to the target, boom, target goes bye-bye, no problem. But this missile, which I'm not entirely sure, I'm not so good on my missiles and weapons in this game at the moment, is possibly a cluster missile system, which will be very, very awesome if it is. Because what this particular missile does is it tracks the target, fires, and then a few minutes before it hits, or a few seconds before it hits the target, the missile detonates, spreading a number of cluster charges over the enemy target. Now, the main reason this is useful is not so for the damage that it can do, but if it's against a player, it blinds them for a few seconds. So in a sense, you have a flashbang missile in this game, and it's very, very awesome. So this particular fighter is not durable, however. It is very, very slim. If actually, let's get into the cockpit, because it's a nice little old cockpit. I own one of these things. It is a fantastic ship to fly. So as much as I'll be shitting on Drake Interplanetary, I do very much like this ship. The MFDs are in a very good centralized location. You have 5 MFDs in the center of in your center view. They are, well, unfortunately, you have to look down for the last 2, but the 3 most important ones are still available. Very tight, compact cockpit. There's a few struts blocking your view, but it's not too bad. Kind of, and bearing in mind, this is my personal viewpoint on this, kind of makes me feel it's a bit like an X-Wing with the way the struts are designed and the way the cockpit is laid out. But yeah, when I was saying this thing was not very durable, you can see how thin the cockpit is. plus how thin the actual, frame is. The main selling point for this thing's durability is its shield generators. Once the shields go, you're pretty much shit out of luck. What's worse is if you blow up certain parts of the ship, you will lose firepower as well. So, yeah. And as I said, the Ninetales is this for the Ninetales. This is their signature ship. You'll see these flying around, being an absolute douchebag, and making your life a living hell if you're a slow and fat ship, because these will run circles around you. But if you're not, then they'll die pretty quickly. Again, I can't lie. They're really easy to kill. But again, it's their maneuverability and their shield generators that keep them alive. Everything else, it's just, please don't hit me, dear God. Moving on to the next series of ships, you may have noticed this one. You may have you may recognize the chassis. You may recognize the name, but this is probably the most iconic of ships in the Drake Interplanetary lineup. This is, of course, the Cutlass Black, the kind of, well, at one point, the everyman ship, because literally every man in Star Citizen would fly around with this particular thing. When I first started, this ship was incredibly common. I used to find these things flying around the verse, being transports and all that jazz, but then, of course, as time has gone by, I've actually noticed there aren't as many people flying these things, at least when I play Star Citizen. There's loads of freelancers, there's a number of other sort of ships. You do see the other variants of the other variants more than the actual Cutty Black, but we'll be getting over to those in a mo. So the armaments for this particular ship is a number of size 2 laser repeaters, a few machine gun, a couple of machine guns on the top. There you go. Yep, size 2 Gatling machine guns. There is a size 3 turret as well, which is pretty dope. And there are a few missiles around, but I can never remember where the hell they put those bloody missiles. One of the cool things about the Cutlass Black is the VTOL-style thruster system, which is very useful when it comes to dealing with planetary landings, and has probably helped a few pirates here or there get to their secret locations without being detected. One of the other things about the particular... one of the particulars of the Cutty Black's versatility and usability is its cargo bay. I remember playing that when I was first getting into Star Citizen, like we're getting back into Star Citizen a few years ago. I was really hooked on having a Cutlass Black because it seemed like my kind of ship to jump into. Obviously, since then I've grown some standards, but, you know, back then I didn't know what I was doing, so there you go. I'll actually have a bit of a public service announcement regarding this and the ROC for the Grey Cat, or the Rock, as many people will say it. I don't know why I call it ROC, but it's just my thing. So anyway, going from the cargo bay into the cockpit, it's a bit of an interesting design. This is one of the sort of the more earlier designs that were made by Cloud Imperium when Star Citizen was in sort of the earlier development. You got a cockpit and a co-pilot's seat. When you get in, you're sort of taken up into the... sort of lifted up into it. Your MFDs are all selected in front of you, which is actually very nice. The view from the cockpit isn't too bad. The whole raised platform thing means that you can sort of look down sort of in front of you, which is nice. But the big selling point is that all of the MFDs are in front of you. You don't have to look for them, which is really nice. Looking up and around, you get a decent field of view, and there's only a couple of struts here or there that kind of block you out. So it's not a bad ship, definitely. It is a very capable ship in terms of what it can do. And as I said, you've got a size 3 turret, which if you're working with someone, they can quickly hop onto it, and yeah, it's not too bad. So one of the things you'll note if you're a new sort of player to the game and you want to get into mining but you don't really have a big price tag, there's actually a pack available in on the website which allows you to grab the ROC from Grey Cat and a Cutlass Black in a sort of a combo package. There's even a Dragonfly variant. There's a Dragonfly hoverbike which also comes with a Cutlass Black. Now, a Dragonfly, the hoverbike Dragonfly with a Cutlass Black, yeah, works completely. The thing can easily get in. It's a bit awkward, but that's just because it's a hoverbike. But it still works. Not so for the Grey Cat ROC. And I'll give you 2 reasons why that is. The first reason is a limitation on the ship's part, and it is something that won't be fixed, and it will just be a problem for now until time immemorial, and it is a constant pain in the arse for me to deal with, which is why I don't want to get it. It's like a fuck that sort of thing for a packet of chips. So, what am I talking about? Well, the first reason is this pinched, the pinched loading bay going up into the cargo bay, because in the cargo bay it's nice and wide, you can easily fit an ROC, and there's an even maneuvering room to be able to park it in a perfect place, but not here. This pinched entranceway into the Cutlass Black is an absolute fucking pain in the ass to drive through. I have on numerous occasions bashed into the sides or clipped into something, and it is a ball ache to try and get the sodding ROC into the back of this sodding thing. It's just pain in the ass. Second of all, the issue with the pinched loading bay is that the angle is quite steep, and it's not useful for something that's wide. The ROC is a fat fucker when it comes to its wheels. Like, it's wide. Like, the struts and the legs are spread out, so it's very difficult to sort of equally drive in when the first half of your journey is awkwardly placed. It's just, this is an absolute asshole to park a ROC into. So, you know, once you get past the awkward pinch of the Cutlass Black, it actually kind of then works as is intended. There is enough space to put an ROC in, and you can fly around and do whatever. But then when it comes to getting it in and out of the Cutlass Black, it is an absolute bastard. Now, the second reason why I wouldn't recommend getting a Cutlass Black for transportation of an ROC is one that can be fixed, and currently it's just an issue with ROCs, so that hopefully one day this won't be a thing. When you get into an ROC that you've parked, the mining laser on the right-hand side will, instead of just coming out and basically being at the ready, it'll just instantly shoot up like 90 degrees and will poke into the ceiling of the Cutlass Black, which will damage it because there is a collision going on between the Cutlass Black and the ROC. So you'll bugger your ROC and you'll bugger your Cutlass Black. It won't blow it up, at least I don't think so. I've not had that explode on me, but it will cause issues such as you won't be able to open and close your back door anymore. You won't be able to, your mining laser might be buggered or damaged from that. So it's a real ball ache to try and utilize a buggy with the Grey Cat ROC with the Cutlass Black. It's just not worth it. Get yourself another transport vessel. The only vessel I think that can really work is kind of more pricey ones, but you want to pay for the extra price, because then not only do you have the ability of getting your vehicle on board, but then if you have some friends, they can jump on too. But the Cutlass Black is a waste of money when it comes to trying to utilize it with a Grey Cat ROC. There are better ships out there for maybe slightly more money, but you'll get immense, but the extra money is to remove the stress from having that. Anyway, I've ranted on enough about that. Let's have a look at the two other versions whilst we're here. So we'll talk about this version, because this Cutlass Blue, because this version is less popular at the moment, but when the features come into the form, that's when it will become probably a lot more viable. This is the Cutlass Blue, which is probably Drake's attempt at trying to seem a lot more friendly towards the law enforcement sort of groups. So you've traded the cargo bay for storage pods. So what the storage pods entail are basically criminal scum who've been captured and are now being are awaiting transport to various prisons, dead or alive. These look like they're probably more for the alive ones. So then, as you sort of go, and they also have some docking collars on each side. This vehicle also has access, if we just go to here, not really anything different at the back. There is still a turret and everything. The weapons are a little less dangerous. Oh, someone's got stuck there. GG. The display is a little bit more open. The cockpit has more of a proper design, like a dome effect with it when it comes to the viewpoint, which is not bad. But apart from that, it's virtually the same in this little sector. So the sort of winning factor of this ship, or the unique factor of this ship, apart from storing bodies, is it has an EMP. Not a very powerful one, but it does have an EMP. So if you're in the middle of combat and you want to try and disable a vehicle's electronics, crack the EMP off, and Bob's your uncle, you've just nabbed yourself a criminal, which is fantastic. So again, nothing really special, but it does have a few things. Oh yeah, it has sirens. That's pretty much it. So, yeah, GG. Now let me take you to probably one of the most popular versions of the Cutlass Black, at least if you're in a clan. This is, of course, the Cutty Red. Now, the Cutty Red is the ambulance of Cutlass Blacks. It's traded its size 3 turret guns for a flashlight, and it's got some size 2 lasers with some Gatling machine guns, size 1 Gatling machine guns. They're not very, no, sorry, there, size 2 Gatling repeaters, and yeah, but keep wanting to say Gatling. Gatling. But no, this is the most common version of the Cutty that I see in the verse, especially with clan stuff. The reason why? Well, if you go into here, into the loading bay, you're presented with 2 medical beds. Now, how medical beds work in Star Citizen is, well, at the moment, is you lie down on the bed, and if you're going to a clan event like an Org v Org, a special event, or anything of the like, what you do is you lie down on the bed, look to the right. Normally on the right hand side, because this is the display model, it's not going to set your spawn, but basically on the right hand side there will be a little panel which will say set as preferred ICU. And now what that means is that if your character is killed in battle, or something happens, you suicide, if you glitch out and you need to suicide, instead of spawning all the way back at the local's R&R station, you'll instead spawn in this bed. And depending on what state bed you've spawned into and all that jazz. This also serves as a medical bed to heal any particular wound. So if your health is a bit damaged, your arm's red, or you're yellow, and it's not really doing too well, get into the bed, it'll heal it, and you'll be put back into form, which is pretty nice. Now, that's as much as we have in terms of medical gameplay. It's not very fancy, agreeably, but it is very useful for clan ops, because as you can imagine, any guys, a clan having an Org v Org, for example, will need a Cutlass Red, and maybe a few Cutlass Reds, depending on how many people die in a very quick succession. It's a great incentive, actually, to not die, because I've not seen it happen, but apparently bad things happen if 2 players die at the same time and they come into the same bed. Don't know what happens, but I've heard it's bad. So, all I know. That's all I know. But anyway, so this version of the Cutlass Red is probably the most common, and going into this little sector, there isn't a turret system. Instead, it is just a simple shower system. The pilot flies around with similar sort of struts. The co-pilot has access to the flashlight, which I find to be quite awesome. Or the flashlight just kind of goes on, and it's controlled by the player. So, but there you go. So the Cutty Red, or the Cutty series. I feel kind of sad, though, about the Cutty Black, because it's one of those ships that's now being overshadowed by so many other better ships that do its role better. And they also look better. And they have better weapons. They have better systems. I mean, the Cutlass Red is probably going to be the most dominant vehicle in the verse for a very long time. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Which I feel a bit sad over. But yeah, that's as good as it's going to get for that sort of thing. So we've gone from one of the most iconic ships in the Drake Interplanetary fleet. Now let's have a look at the largest, finger quote, in-game in the Drake Interplanetary fleet. This is, of course, the Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar. This is currently the largest cargo capacity of SCU that is currently in-game at the moment. Though when the Crusader C2 arrives, or A2, no, it's A2, my brain's going dumb. When the Crusader Hercules enters into the game, we will be seeing this vessel will finally have a competitor. So, what is this ship? Well, pretty much simply, it's a cargo container with wings and engines. The crew is in an open environment. Where's the crew hatch? There's like a crew hatch somewhere around here. Lower hallway. It's a very singular system, very simplified, very, as you can see, it kind of goes into one area, kind of goes out to the other. There are some defensive turrets, little stairway access here. Sort of taking it around. It's a very spacious ship. This ship also does have a tractor beam. Is planned to have a tractor beam as well. So if you want to get some cargo into the vessel, you can. Very nice looking ship. It's one of the sort of the largest in the fleet at the moment. Like when I say at the moment, I mean by gameplay. So going into the bridge. It's a very interesting design, like very funky design bridge here, because you've got obviously the pilot, which has a pretty decent view. Nice little decent view. You had the ship on the side. There are some turrets. All the turrets are manned, though. So this is a great ship that encourages multi-crew, because you'll have to have a pilot, obviously, but then you'll have to have crew and security, because this ship you can easily board and hide into. I mean, one of the areas that you can hide into is, in fact, one of the residency areas inside the ship. The lower level here, basically, is where all the crew would be either chilling, sleeping, or doing whatever. This is apparently where the docking collar is going to be, but obviously because the thing doesn't work, sadly, we don't have access to it. Again, very utilitarian, very basic in nature. There's barely any sense for privacy or anything of the sort. You're not caring about privacy. You're caring about efficiency, and efficiency is all what Drake Interplanetary is about. And hopes and prayers. Thoughts and prayers is what fuels the engines in this thing, because nothing else does. Sorry. So, there's the server access for the thing. There's the power plant access. So if you are an engineer, yes, you're an engine. Yes, if you're an engineer, then you will be able to get access. There we go. It's down at that. That cost me 4% of my health. These vehicles are dangerous. There we go. Stops me from dying, and also gets rid of the HUD implements. So going forwards into the habitation area, this is a bit embarrassing. I mean, there is a little shutter thing you can see here, but it's still like shitting in the open is kind of a little embarrassing, because there's no... Is there a cover for it? No, there is a cover for it, but it's not that impressive. But anyway, so this is the habitation area, so it's not that fancy. Kind of very basic, very bare bones. So this is actually the cargo bay. So basically, the way that the Caterpillar is designed is there are multiple struts connected with like modules, I should probably say, to be accurate. But it connects them via the two doors at the ground floor, or a single door going through, a couple of doors on the top. And basically, you fill these things full of cargo. And because of the two doors on the because of the two like doors on each side open up, you can actually there you go, there's the end as well. This is the only one that has sort of a frontal mounted view, but this particular thing allows you to access the cargo from the front. And basically this ship is just, you fly from destination to destination, unload the cargo, reload the cargo, and fly it out to another location once again. This is the currently the ultimate goal for cargo hauling enthusiasts in Star Citizen. If you know the routes, you know how to fly through the verse, you can make a serious amount of dough. And as said, you will probably need to have some security on these things, because you can board these. Players have been known to grief these players by boarding their ships, waiting until they're outside the armistice zone, and killing them. For me personally, I'm not much of a transport person. I don't find that so riveting. Like, I can happily chill with someone. Like, I could guard them if they pay me for it. I could guard them. That's my job. You know, I'm a PMC. I could happily watch and guard someone, earn some extra cash, just by guarding someone's vehicle or on the journey. But yeah, there's for those who enjoy cargo hauling, this particular ship has a rather large amount of cargo carrying capacity. It's like 576 SCU. If memory serves correctly. So that's quite a lot of cargo. And again, if you know your routes and you know your cargo, you can make a shit ton of profit on this game, in this game, with this ship. In terms of aesthetics, it's not that pretty, but it kind of, again, it's it's Drake Interplanetary. Looking pretty was a side thought, or no thought at all, to be honest with you, but there you go. So, the Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar. When the Hercules comes into this game, I think the Caterpillar will probably see a major decrease in services, because the Hercules is actually a little bit more defendable, a little bit easier to fly probably, and it looks good. And it has more cargo capacity, so it's a winner-winner chicken dinner. But no, I think this vehicle will still have some usage. It will just probably become the mid-tier for flying in the verse with cargo. Or if you're just that much of a Drake fanboy that you don't care, which is possible. So, nipping over to the last ship before we head down into the holodecks, we have a look at a very curious ship. One that's been in the game for a very long time, but not really been able to do a lot, because its role isn't really there yet. What is this ship, you may? What is this weird-looking ship, you may ask? Well, this is Drake Interplanetary's MSR. I'm not shitting you. This is... No joking. This is the MSR of Drake Interplanetary. What this ship is the Herald. This ship basically acts as a data relay ship, where if you send information to it, it'll, you know, obviously relay the data. It's got some servers inside. Let's get into the ship. It's very funky designed. Let's enter the ship here. So it's very thin, very slightly... It's kind of claustrophobic, depending on how it is. But basically, you've got a series of computers and servers which are receive and have information or critical stuff. So, say, for example, a clan of two major organizations are going at it in the verse. And one of the orgs have just set up a base in an asteroid field. And they're trying their best to hide it, but someone is able to spot it and relays the information. Well, this particular vehicle may be belonging to a member of an opposing clan, or may just be a random clan operating ship that receives the information and is like, hey, let's transfer this thing. Maybe we could sell it for profit. Maybe we could relay it towards other clans that might benefit from it. Or it could be that this ship is doing some exploring and they found some coordinates for some really good minerals or ore or whatever, and they want to sell it to the highest bidder. Same sort of thing. So if you're a fan of transferring data, I'm not entirely sure 100% how the data streaming will work, because as said, this is an alpha. A lot of this stuff is going to probably be changed and mucked around with before it becomes released. But I can say for certain that this thing will be this is a good ship for it. I like the Herald. I mean, I like the design of the Herald. I mean, I like Drake Interplanetary design as much. I said, as much as I take the piss out of them, I do like the utilitarian aspect of Drake Interplanetary. And as you can see with the cockpit of this thing, little struts or whatever. I mean, apart from anything else, this ship looks really funky. Its engine's fucking huge, though. Like, it is designed to get from A to B as fast as possible. And if you melt it on the speedway, Jesus Christ, on a bike, it's mental. It's really, really fast. Straight line, though. Only in a straight line. I have yet to fly this thing with the atmospheric changes, though. So I'm probably going to rent this ship and have a little bash at it out of camera. But yeah, no, this is a very nice looking ship. I like the ship. I kind of hope to see it. I hope to see its use in the verse fairly soon, especially if the MSR has been developed. We may yet see the data storage guy's role become more of a factor. I'd like to say that's going to be a thing. I don't think it will be, but here we go. You know, I can dream. Many people can dream, like Drake Interplanetary ship. Sorry. I will stop, seriously. In terms of defensibility, you're kind of fucked. You've got 8 size 1s and only 1 size 1 Gatling gun. So if you know your weapons, you probably could equip yourself with something relatively decent, but I wouldn't put too much into it. The ship is not really meant for combat. It's literally from A to B as soon as possible. You could act as a baby transporter, but again, it's probably not going to be your worth. Depending on who you're transporting, it may be better to get another ship. Like, not a Drake one. Going down into the room before the holodeck, we find ourselves looking at the Drake Dragonfly. The Dragonfly is a 1 to 2 man, but really it's just a 1 hover bike, which is more noob friendly than its competitor, the Nox, which is from, I can't remember how to pronounce their name, Esperia, but I'm probably butchering it. The reason why is because it's got these little 4 strut-like things on the side and the rears, which really help balance out the vehicle when it comes to doing various maneuvers. They are extremely useful. We utilized the 2 of these in an org v org match, and we were able to make some devastating blows against our opponents. Who won because they didn't have any vehicles to counteract it or the ability to really stop them. That was pretty much like air supremacy in that regard. They can go fairly high into the atmosphere, and I don't know how they handle with the new atmospherics. I think maybe fairly similarly or not. I'm not too experienced with these things. I've not had these I don't really own one of these sort of things. I'm not a huge fan of hover bikes in this game. I can see their usefulness, but I'm not going to own one. I'm more of a Ranger guy. I own one as well. Anyway, so yes, the So the dragonflies, though, are still very much a viable thing, and if you do want to have a nice little ground transportation vehicle, I would recommend them. It's just, it depends on how you want to go. I mean, I'm more of a boots on the ground, tires on the track sort of guy, so I'll probably go for a more physical thing, whereas the other one... nice. Whereas the other people might want to find access to this sort of thing. But, you know, to each their own. So, we enter into the last room of our tour. Of course, I'm rather excited for this, though. Some of the things I've seen already, so I'm not overhyped, but there is one thing in this room that I haven't seen in 3D, in a holographic form. So, without further ado, let's have a look. Oh, the details are getting there. It's getting there. So, this is the Kraken. This is the pride and joy of any clan inside Star Citizen, and probably going to be very common in terms of what kind of ships... like, as a player, I aspire to get this ship. This is an end goal for me. It is, of course, the first carrier in Star Citizen. Like, if this ship comes out anytime soon, it will be the first carrier to be utilized. Now, it gives us sort of some bare bones statistics as to what it can have, but bearing in mind, a lot of these carriers, this particular carrier, has open decks, which means, you know, they say, oh, you can have up to X amount of ships, but really, this is before the player base has gotten its hands on it. Literally, oh, this ship looks so gorgeous. It looks so well detailed, and I want one. Ah! I want one so bad. But yes, so okay, so to actually explain what this thing is, it's basically a carrier which has the ability to transport a number of ships on the top, and there's a couple of hangars in the bottom. It also has a giant ass cargo bay, hence with that, and also for just the bog standard edition of the Kraken, has a drone repair bay and a dragonfly repair bay as well. So that's pretty damn good. If you have what's known as the privateer version, you take away the drone bays and the dragonfly bays, get rid of a large chunk of your cargo bay, and instead it becomes a sort of shopping center with backroom deals and the like. So if you're a clan that wants to make some money, and isn't too fussed about transporting shit or having the ability to make... the ability to transfer and utilize drones or dragonflies, you will be able to... you'll be able to utilize this to transport around the verse and make a decent profit. Now, the ship can land, like these are landing struts. The ship can land on a planet, but something tells me this is not recommended. I just got a feeling. Something tells me that's not going to be a good thing. There's like a nice ATC with like the anti-everything into it. This was originally previewed back in 2018, and it's come a long way since its initial preview, though we really want to get it now. You know, like, if there's a ship that needs to come out in 2021, I think this is it. There are other ships, of course, that are out there, but I think if Drake Interplanetary really kind of needs a big one. Like, the Cutlass Red was a big sort of boon, but that was just more of a reskin and utilizing a new functionality feature. There isn't anything distinctly Drake Interplanetary that's come out to challenge anything in any major sense. At least is how I see it. Feel free to put in your comments if you feel that there's Drake Interplanetary have done some pretty good things in recent years, but I don't think so. They actually have at this moment. At least in terms of scale. Like, you know, the MSR, the Carrack and the MSR are two beautiful examples of big and bold and dangerous, but fucking amazing at the same time. Like, if this ship came out, Drake Interplanetary's popularity would go from mediocre to holy shit. You know, like, that's how good it would be. And any clan worth their salt would want to have one of these things, because this is the authority of any kind of clan out there. So definitely a good thing for that. Moving from the big, beautiful, and drop-dead gorgeous, we move on to one of potential controversy, which is, of course, the Vulture? Or Vulcan? No, it's Vulture. I was right the first time. So this is the Vulture, which looks very, very similar to a certain mining ship in EVE Online. I won't say anything because I don't 100% know how they got away with it, but I think it was more of the case of EVE Online were like, it's okay, we're not that fussed, and so Star Citizen were able to develop this thing. But this particular ship isn't a miner, though it's a bit depressing on that one. No, this is a salvager ship. To my understanding, and throwing a good guess on how this will work, is what's ever inside these two little strut things here will assist in either deconstructing or gathering scrap from various ships, and the internal, like this little thing here will basically mulch them. I think this is going to be something that sort of moves as a garbage compactor. The door will open, whatever kind of crap will come through, then the thing will just go num 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 num, and then proceed to spit it out its arse at the back here. We do have an image of the back of this ship in some of the R&R places where the thing is open, but it's more like it's just filtering whatever kind of crap out. So yeah, like, I don't really know what kind of role this ship will have, but I like the look of it, and it is a very decent, as I said, as a former EVE player, I've used this ship quite a bit when it came to mining. Like, this is the first sort of bigger ship that you can, I think it's like the first ship you can use to mine anyway. If you have like an Omega account for EVE Online, or if you were back in the day, you were paying subscription, but you just wanted like a decent-ish miner, then this would be your first ever ship to go towards that before you get things like the Monolith or whatever, and then you attach mining lasers to it or whatever. But no, this is a decent looking ship. I can imagine it has a nice little potential. We just need salvaging to be a thing in the game, and then we can actually use the damn thing. So moving on to the last ship in the holodeck verse, this is the Drake Corsair. Now, this is basically everything a Carrack wants to be. Well, it wants to be a Carrack, but a faster one, a smaller one, a more maneuverable one. It looks pretty well detailed. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I can still see some grey textural modelling and all that, so it's not quite... They're in the grey boxing phase, so it's still a bit of a thing. But the Drake Corsair is basically a ship that wants to sort of... It's Drake's Interplanetary's answer to Anvil with its Carrack, and it's deciding to respond by throwing a lot more Dakar towards the pilot than the gunners. It's a very interesting looking ship design. It kind of reminds me of the ship that in the Clone Wars, Anakin Skywalker with Ahsoka Tano would utilize to travel between various points in the verse. There's the cargo bay. They've done like images and grayscaling of all that jazz of the particular ships, but it looks pretty good. I mean, I like it. I mean, I can't say I'm overly fussed, but I like it. So it's something that, again, if we need something to release, this, which just seems to be a little bit more likely than a Kraken, because it does kind of do the same role as a Kraken, as a Carrack anyway. So if this was to be released, I'd say that would be a good ways towards improving the popularity of Drake Interplanetary. I don't think it would 100% fix it, but I think it would be a really good start. Obviously, I'm more of a Kraken man. That almost looks like a weapon, but I don't think it is, which is a bit of a shame. That would be a really good opportunity to have as a weapon. Just saying. I'd like the ship a lot more if that was a weapon, put it that way. I'm a simple man. I want a gun on everything, alright? I'm a little bit like Drake Interplanetary, okay? Sue me. But no, so basically, this ship looks pretty cool. I'm not a lot I could really say about this particular ship, apart from it looks pretty good, and I think it should be released next year, because it'll go a decent way towards improving the standing on Drake Interplanetary, because at the moment they're kind of stagnating with what they've got available. I mean, there's loads of companies in the verse that are stagnating because they don't have that many ships available, but I'm hoping that it comes into its own form, because that would be pretty dope. Definitely looking pretty dope. Keep fighting the good fight, my man. One day you will realize that you can go up those stairs. Oh, hang on. He may have just twigged it. He's thinking. He's thinking. Maybe he'll realize he's going the wrong way. But we'll never know. Cliffhanger. So, that's pretty much it for today's events at IAE. So, Drake Interplanetary not a bad day. I'd say they've done pretty good. I mean, there's not a lot of ships in the fleet available to fly. I mean, this is another one of those sort of ship fleets that hasn't really got a lot of diversity when it comes to their ship fleet, though. A lot of their ships could bring some much-needed diversity into the verse are all behind that little hollow deck. In terms of ships that I kind of would like to see going into the verse, well, apart from the Kraken, because Kraken, it's obvious. I need the Kraken in my life. Oh, look, a Vandal. The Corsair is another ship that I think would be a pretty good addition to the verse, and I think would make a nice little strong impact against Anvil with its Carrack. Yes, Anvil has a Kraken. What? But anyway, so today it might even be the shortest episode I've done today. So what do you guys think? If you like this kind of stuff, let me know in the comment section down below. Are you a Drake fanboy, or are you someone who has standards? Let me know in the comment. I've probably pissed off so many saying that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I hope to see you in tomorrow's episode when, well, whoever comes in is whoever comes in. We'll see then. So I will see you guys tomorrow once I've done that. Finger quote tomorrow. You know how this works, guys.